and the bow and the arrow, which are both like 180 tall, they weigh around 1.5 kilogram. And if you see the weapon and its volume, 1.5 kilogram is quite nothing.
Yeah, that's really light.
Yeah, and actually that is not hacking or cheating, it's just plain acrylic painting on fabric.
How long did it take you to paint all of this?
3 days, from morning to evening.
I would have finished this in a week, but okay.
Yeah.
Is the plastic stuff from inside, or is it just empty inside? Just on the outside?
You mean the bow?
This, or cosplays you make out of cardboard. Do you fill the cardboard from the inside, or is it just...
No, it's just hollow. So I try to put triangle shapes because it's most stable. So I do also like the blades of swords, making just 4 pieces of cardboard and leaving it empty.
This?
Yeah, and here you can see a comparison. It's basically already all the armor pieces on the left side and all the fabric pieces. And then the change that comes to it is the tape and the paint, and it just puts the really, really boring armor on the left to a proper monster hunter. Yeah. Yeah, so we're getting next to the barbarian from Diablo 3. So some of you might know the reference picture. It is this classic bikini armor with spikes, and you cannot fight in it because you're going to kill yourself with your spikes. Yeah, it's a ridiculous design, but it's a lot of fun to wear and also to make.
So it was designed by BAC.
Sorry?
It's like it was designed by a BAC.
Maybe!
Imagine! It was, maybe. Let's go.
Yeah, so back then I did not want to afford Wobbler, and I had to do these boot cups for the armor. And what I did, I bought felt, like real sheep felt, and I used acrylics and wood glue to harden it like you do when you do hats. So I made these felt cups, and I just sewed it to more felt, and this is making up the breastplate. For the more flat pieces, I again used the brown cardboard and sculpted on it with a kind of paper clay, which is very cheap in Austria. It is like €4 per kilogram. And it is not very fine, it is a bit textured, and I think it's perfect for making bone structures. I also made all the pearls for Ragnar with it. And I really achieved what I wanted. I did not want the barbarian to look very clean and perfect.
What, it's not a poster?
So I don't have many hacks for Snowstorm Severe, at least I don't have pictures of it. But this was my reference. It's the concept art for Snowstorm Severe, which I like more than the final design in the game. And it is a very plain cheat because I did not want to make a corset. I didn't have the sewing skills for a corset. So what I did is I took a black t-shirt, I cut off all the cleavage area, I sewed some brown leather stripes on it, and I took a brown, covered it in leather. And I left the rest. It is super comfortable, it was super fast to do, and I think it looks as it should. And
it does.
So what I would like to talk about, if we could maybe go back to the first picture of Snowstorm Severe.
This one?
The next? Yeah. I sadly don't have pictures of the snowflake, but the snowflake is made from 7 pieces. It is the ring in the middle and the 6 spikes going out. And it can be disassembled. Each spike is like the height of my suitcase again. And it's held together by fine liners. So it's pretty similar to Stabilo. I hope I'm not hurting your sponsor's feeling here. So I have many empty fine liners at home, and I put the caps of the fine liners into the main ring of the weapon, and I put the fine liners itself into the spikes. So I can just plug in, plug out whenever I want to assemble and disassemble it. I also did the same on the Monster Hunter armor with the feathers on top. So the feathers are actually still working. I can write with the feathers in my helmet.
It's like, Linda, do you need a pen?
So a bit of a different project. I did Orphan Tulip from the Storks movie. I really love the movie and the character, but there are two things I think I'm not good at and I don't like in cosplay, which are sewing for stylized characters and wig styling. So maybe it was not the cleverest choice, but I really like it. So just look at the proportions of the character, like her boots are twice the size of her waist and stuff like this.
Who designed this?
Somebody.
I really love the design, to be honest. So the boots were obviously the biggest challenge, and I did it from scratch. So I took some foam mats and put 3 layers until it was like 3 centimeters thick, and then I did a whole leather cover around it, and I sewed in some thinner foam to make it stand up like it was a normal boot. Because actually it's a stylized version of UGG boots, but you can't just use UGG boots because the proportions are so different. So it looks quite funny, and I think I came pretty close to the reference, but it looks way funnier if I try to walk in it.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Who designed this character?
Sorry?
Who designed this character?
I actually knew her name of the character designer. She's from France and worked for Warner back then. So yeah, I sadly didn't know yet.
Because the portions that seems to be off, especially the legs.
Yeah, but that's stylization of the animation.
Yeah, I think that's the point of it. So what I want to talk about this picture is you might see the knot of the neckerchief. And if you look closely, that is nothing that a real knot looks like. It is made from 3 separate parts. Every part is stuffed with cotton. They are put together, made into a pin with a security pin, and the actual neckerchief is held together with Velcro tape. So it has nothing to do with an actual knotted neckerchief, but is the way of stylization the movie went with, and I wanted to recreate it in the costume.
Oh, this is Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah, exactly.
The blade of Noctis blade, yeah.
I did this as a commission last year, and yeah, my first problem was it looked like they were using this metal grid thing in the middle.
Yeah,
and
this one.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't want to use metal because I don't have the tools for it. So what I ended up is I used fishnet fabric. I hardened it again with acrylic and wood glue, and painted. It looks like a metal grid. So you can see the picture before. The main part of the sword, this orange is the cardboard, and the white stuff is the painter's tape, and the details are mostly made from foam. So you can't tell it's fabric when it's painted in the end. But yeah, the next picture shows the sword again. But then we come to the actual even dirtier sheets in it. Because there are so many geometric shapes and I didn't want to 3D print everything. So I just took whatever waste I had at home. I took like 3 lipstick covers and put it in. Like one was transparent, so you can open it up. You can put LEDs in if you want, because the customer wanted to do this himself. You can just plug it back in. The other round stuff, which is really hard to do, something perfectly round, is made from a deodorant cover. I used classic foam. I used those rolls you put posters in and cut slices from them to make the cylinders. So yeah, I actually used a lot of waste to build it. But it made it much easier than building it from scratch with foam or wobbler or something like this. So the actual challenge for this was seeing the design and realizing what kind of everyday stuff I can put into it. So far that's it for my talk, but you're welcome to ask any questions if you want, to take some business cards with you if you want.
Yes. And to see some more of this.
Yeah, sure.
if you want. Here's a question.
When you paint your face or your eyebrows, when you repaint them, do you, because most of the people put like glue and stick over their eyebrows, then put makeup and then paint new eyebrows. How do you hide your eyebrows? Just.
I actually don't have many cosplays I hide it. It's not actually hidden with any glue for this one because the makeup is so dark that you don't see the few eyebrows underneath.
Yeah, I'm here really close so I can see your eyebrow here, but people don't see it from distance or on the pictures.
Exactly.
Any more questions maybe? He has a question.
I have a question. How did you make the wig for Orphan Tulip?
The wig for Orphan Tulip is made from 3 wigs. So the base wig was a red lace front wig that I pulled up in the back. So, and I pulled it up towards a construction that has this stick out of it and a cross that is fixed to your head. And then I bought a really cheap wig that is making up the curly bun. And I just put the whole wig onto the other wig, onto the stick. And I added some lighter hairs from a third wig. So the problem was that in the end, the lots of hairspray I used for the main wig made it much darker. So in the end, I airbrushed everything in the same color again to make it look homogeneous. And yeah, it took me like just 3 full weekdays to only make the wig, and I was very scared to mess it up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One thing is for sure, which I can say, you had a lot of interesting things that nobody before holding cosplay panels said about. For example, disassembling the costume, how to pack it, how to do the design, and the most importantly, you don't have to make it, if you see a dress, you don't have to make a dress. You can make something totally different, like I said, detachable. Like this thing just got me like, what's going on? I'm like that. The stick, I expected. This, I did not expect. Just, I'm taking it off, and I'm like, oh, I saw this. And you're like, oh, it goes with magnets. I'm like, wow. And the fun thing is that you measure everything to fit in a suitcase.
Yeah.
We should learn from this.
Yeah, I'm currently working on a new Monster Hunter weapon because the bow is so exhausting to transport. I'm making a bow gun, and I'm 3D modeling it and then 3D printing it. I don't do it very much because I'm super slow when I do 3D modeling. And I also measured it to fit in the backpack I have. So I have this 2-meter gun, and it has to fit in my backpack because I decided I want to put it in the backpack when I go to Poland for Pixelmania.
Can we give an applause for the person who's making this into small bag, 2-meter bow in a small bag? We should learn to organize rooms. Is there any more questions, maybe? There. Okay, say.
Musil wants to know, have you done any other Blizzard cosplay besides the Barbarian?
I also have a wizard from Diablo 3.
Anything else?
No.
I understand. And I also want to know, is there any cosplay you made that you can wear without wearing it? Like you're in the role, but not actually wearing the costume?
Sorry, I didn't.
Is there any cosplay you made that you can wear it without wearing it? That you can be the character but without the costume?
I think that whatever yesterday, it is Chinora from Legend of Korra, and I think she's one of the few characters that is pretty similar to me. And I actually, for a very long time, had exactly the same haircut and everything, so then I guess that comes closest, but I don't have actually costumes that I would say or characters that I would say I am.
Can you expect any Blizzard-related costumes in the future?
No, I just went down the next rabbit hole, and my next rabbit hole has become Witcher. But what I want to do next is not actually Witcher, it is a comic adaptation from Sergi Topi.
Thank you for your time.
Somewhere?
Right here. When you're making layered elements in your costume, such as the armor plates in the Monster Hunter costume, are they all separate, or do you cut them out of one big piece of foam and then connect them together later on?
As I shared with this druid from World of Warcraft, I usually split my costume into bigger parts. So for example, if I have this bracer from the Monster Hunter, that is 4 parts of foam, but I glued them together and then I covered them together in tape and painted them together. So I always try to find the biggest possible and simplest possible shape to put everything together.
Also, this ties into the last question a little bit, but how do you feel about casual cosplaying, such as when you're too embarrassed to come to a con fully decked out in armor and like druid wear and everything? You just come kind of halfway, that you could wear it as normal clothing outside of a con, but anybody at the con would recognize you as the character.
I actually like it. I'm not very much doing it myself because I'm not going to too many cons and I always want to present my costumes if I'm at least going to a convention. But I think it's a quite fun way and I like most interpretations actually. And yeah, I think it's not actually a part of the crafting what I was talking about. It is more like about the having fun part, and I think it's equally important. I just focus more on the crafting side today.
Also, where do you purchase your wigs for cosplay?
That is very different actually. So I got this from an eBay seller, which is from Germany. It was called the Cult Shop, but they don't make business anymore, or at least they don't make auctions anymore, which were very cheap. I got most of my lace front wigs from Amazon. Yeah, I get some used wigs also, like from convention flea markets. At least in Austria and Germany we have this bring and buy at the conventions. I got some wigs there.
Any more questions? There's a question. Wait for the microphone.
What?
Then I'll bombard you with questions.
Is there any type of costume or type of costume that you find specifically time-consuming to make?
Well, obviously big armors take more time, so I have like this Monster Hunter armor, and I planned a lot, so I think they're not actually costumes that take most time, because you can fix a lot if you do research. So I expected the Monster Hunter to take like 1 or 2 months of my holidays completely, but I did a lot of research, and in the end I think that until I wore it for the first time, finished, it took me 3 full weeks. Which is way less than I expected, and it was just because I could solve so many problems by researching and by trying out such techniques like the painter's tape folds.
Yeah, because some characters are so exotic that you just can make sew your stuff and call it a day. Like for the Monster Hunter that you just mentioned, it's like full these pieces, carapace like pieces that you need to essentially glue to your set to look like something.
You mean, sorry, I didn't understand what you were wanting
I mean, there are a lot of costumes. They look very exotic, very weird, very time-consuming. Like the Monster Hunter cosplay you just did. That seems like you need weeks, if not months, to make it look like something, to make something that's relevant. Because all the pieces, all the details, all the,
I think it is very much about understanding how you can make it with a different technique. So I could have made the whole Monster Hunter costume like sculpting everything out of something like monster clay and then casting it and rebuilding it with fiberglass and everything. So I could have spent at least a year on it, but I decided that I didn't have the time and the money to do it, so I went with a cheaper way. So I think you can break down many costumes this way. So I know that there is higher quality costumes out there, but I cannot afford them to make in time and in money, and I think this is what you can just choose. I think it's fine to choose to make a costume in a cheaper way because it is fun, it is possible, and everything like that.
Okay, some more questions?
Yeah. Have you ever used, say, a part of a costume from the previous cosplay for the one you're currently making?
I actually did a winter version of Rockmar, so I wore it to a winter convention, and I took pieces from the Monster Hunter, from Rockmar, from the Barbarian, from Astrid, from How You Train Your Dragon, and put all of them together to a new costume. Yeah, and then I put everything apart again, and now I'm wearing the same single costumes again.
And how common is it? Like, how often does it happen?
I think it is more possible if you do more costumes from the same series. So for example, I'm building a new gun for my Monster Hunter, and this cosplay you see on this photo here is also from Monster Hunter. So I can use the same gun, the same weapon for both cosplays. So I think if you're doing more from like World of Warcraft, you can reuse things and just not make an entire armor set, but a mixed one and so on.
Thank you.
Next question. Oh, you were going to ask the same question. Oh, even interesting. Well, I have something to ask. Considering you are a designer, and how do you do the painting process? How does it go for you, for example? Because a lot of people here maybe don't have the time or the nerves or the talent, as they say, but you can always learn how to paint their armors. So how do you do that? Do you use like maybe an airbrush, or do you use different techniques?
I bought an airbrush like 1 year ago, and I used it mostly for fabric painting, actually, for weathering fabric. I still do most of my paint jobs with a brush. And I started cosplaying before I started studying design, but when I started studying design I realized when I made my barbarian costume, I did many things that I now know why I did it. Because if I may explain it a bit further, you have this 3D techniques where you have maps put in a 3D model, like the diffuse color, and the color already contains so many shadows painted into it. And what is very interesting, if you Google something like diffuse map of your favorite game, you can just find out what the actual color of an armor piece is. And if an armor piece is gold in World of Warcraft, it's most likely brown, yellow, red, and so many different colors. And now I very much look at it from the perspective of 3D technology, so I can analyze like, yeah, I need some more specularity here, like they put it in the specularity map actually in the game.
Oh, that's interesting, because a lot of people mostly just slap on one color, and that's what they do. But do you probably shade your costume? I mean, I saw by the Monster Hunter that you shade everything. Also, you said that you go and see some tutorials on the internet to help you out. So, is there someone you can recommend on the internet for people here that have really good cosplay, like tips and tricks, so they can maybe watch them somewhere? Besides you, of course.
I do watch some tutorials still. But I'm very much of a person who watches a tutorial. Like when I started, I found Kami Cosplay back when she was working on the World of Warcraft stuff, the druids. And I watched the tutorial, and she was doing it like with, I don't know, some kind of form. And I watched it, and my attitude was, if you can do it out of this, I'm gonna make it different. So I'm a bit of a person who likes to experiment. I'm mostly watching tutorials on things that I don't know about. So I'm watching a lot of sewing tutorials. They are not for cosplay actually, but for real clothes.
Oh. Well, if you know stuff in cosplay.
Watch makeup tutorials. I very often watch makeup tutorials and wig tutorials from drag queens. Ooh. Because they are technically extremely good and they're well explained. And they're really useful for cosplay, no matter if you do it the drag queen style or not.
Yeah, that is true, because it's extravagant makeup and it's better to have really good. Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any more questions, or we're done? We're done. Thank you for coming. Come here so you can get the cosplay cards from Jessica and enjoy your pictures.